the other one, it's just further apart, and that really comes down to resolution. It's kind of like, you have a TV with better resolution, they see things better. If you get higher frequency information, you see things better. And it's obvious here, looking at it, that frequency-wise, our frequency content is much higher. So this is really, really good data showing clearly, how much better our system performs in a controlled environment in a test wall. Next slide. Okay, so all that being said, so what are we doing here? So our point is that we know, and we've been talking with our clients, and they're telling us, you know what, we don't want one of anything or 10 of anything. We need hundreds of thousands of these systems. How are you going to be able to do that, right? And so we've had the leaders for these companies come out and check us out, and we're showing them what we're doing. And, here's are some of the things. We need to staff up. A little over a year ago, we were about maybe 7 or 8 people, and now we're pushing 50. So we're staffing up. We hired a recruiter. I don't know if you saw Kimberly in the back, corporate recruiter and HR manager to help us do that. She's been doing. We're looking at acquisitions. There are several that we're looking at that have a manufacturing capability that is being underutilized, but it's the expertise we want and the capability we want, but they're applying it for an industry that, it's being underutilized. So we're looking at these and possibly picking that up. We have a bunch of different contract manufacturers looking at to kind of outsource some of the stuff that we don't have to do in-house. And then the other part is we make our stuff like, rather than trying to develop a processing and recording system, we go, you know what, we'll put ours in a format so we could hook up to anybody's processing and recording system, so we don't have to do that part. So that's another important thing, which people like. They tell us what format they need, we tell them what we're doing, and say, you don't have to, we don't have to do it, you don't have to redesign your recording and processing system, we'll be compatible. Next chart. Then we have all these standards we have to comply with. Legally you can't ship stuff out the door if you don't meet these things, so we're going through and make sure everything we have meets these things. So FCC, CE, which is the Europe stuff, UL, all these different types of certifications. We're getting all these, so when we start shipping out the systems en masse, it meets all those regulations. Next one. Example being, and you'll see this later today, is we have this set up, so we're trying to crank these systems, get them out the door, but certified all the FCC, the CE, the IC, all these different certifying bodies. We're taking out there, getting our equipment certified at these, so have no problem shipping them in the U.S. or around the world. Somebody asked me earlier, what else you're doing? It says we're really increasing the automation of how we make these things, and we list some of the things here. Stripping. You say, okay, what does that mean? So you have optical fiber. If you think in terms of wire, you get copper wire, it has some insulation on it, and before you solder to something, you have to take the insulation off in order to solder it. Well, fiber's not that much different. You have to strip the jacket off of it before you can splice it together, which is fuses the glass together. And typically that's really easy to do with standard fibers that you use that are low temperature. But an example being, several of our systems, our clients are asking for a high temperature, and you have to use a special type of coating on the fiber. And the standard way of getting that coating off the fiber is heating up sulfuric acid to almost boiling, and dipping the fiber into that fluid and letting it dissolve, and it takes like 10 minutes. And plus you have this boiling sulfuric acid, which is dangerous. So we didn't want to go there. So, we talked to companies, and they built us these systems where we mechanically strip off this coating, where we stick it in the machine, and in the order of seconds, this coating's off, no chemicals, and then we can splice. That's an example. We have several of those we brought in-house, 3 of those. Splicing, we got the best splicers and all the automated splicing equipment that that's on the market. Recoding, once you splice, you need to recode it with something, and so we've gotten automated recoders in-house, so that's all done automatically. One of the things we'll show you today is that, when we were initially building these systems, we could wind them manually. We had 2 stations, and we could produce on the order of, maybe 10 geophones per shift, right, or something that per station. So we could say maybe do 20 a day, and that's okay for low volume stuff. But it was all done manually, the person winding it manually. So we contracted a company. It was the same company we used to develop the automated winders when I was at Lytton, Northrop Grumman. They designed a custom winder for us, and now we can produce, with this custom winder, automated, 10 at a time, and produce on your 250 to 300 sensors per shift, and that's with one, and we're going to order another one. So the first one came in maybe a week ago, and we're going to be ordering a couple more as needed to handle our volume. Calibration, all that is standard, and when you're testing stuff, you got to make sure all your equipment's calibrated. And you'll see, and if you've been there before in our facility now, we're in a 22,000 square foot facility. It's packed, and we have all these workstations you'll see, and so it's just a matter of time. We're going to have to expand our facility. Next slide. The other thing is we're instituting an ERP system, and we're going to use the SAP. People have probably heard about this. This is to automate all our processes like buying, and inspection comes in, you track everything, on a computer database, so you get better efficiency and tracking costs and know what's going on. And that system is going live at the end of this month. Oh, yes. And then, last thing I want to talk a little bit about intellectual property. We're taking all this time, doing all this work. At the end of the day, you got to own this stuff. And so we're really putting a lot of effort into protecting the intellectual property. And that's something Acorns really, would like us to do too, and we're making a point of it. An example being, we have, to date now, we have 4 patents issued, a trademark, we have 13 pending, and another trademark pending. So it's, it's going very well. And so the patents, we have different interrogator patents, a sensor patent, and then special other fiber optic interrogator patents. And so we have all those, and plus we license 4 from Northrop Grumman, and there may be others that we're interested in licensing from Northrop Grumman. And that's my presentation. So if anybody has any questions, I'm open. Oh, yes. 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 Well, it depends on what you're doing. In other words, if you're trying to get an image of the oil field, like a 3D image, you have to have a source that creates, it's kind of like sonogram, right? You put the thing on and it puts sound in and it reflects back and you get a picture. If you're trying to get a picture, you need a source on the surface that sends the energy in the ground, and you look at the reflections, and then you use that to develop an image. And that's this, 3D imaging, 4D imaging, that's needs a source. So yes, you do need that. But microseismic is a little different in that what they're trying to do is trying to find the fractures. So you're pumping in the fluid, high pressure, it's cracking the earth, and as it cracks, it has like fractures that cause noise, and you're detecting those. So for microseismic, you don't need any kind of source on the surface, because the source you're listening to is the events that are fracking, and you develop a map of where these events are occurring. That's why you saw we have all these little dots that show up. So each dot shows where a fracture occurred. So, yeah. Yeah, I'll tell you something I didn't bring up, but I think it's probably important to say is that when we first took these orders from clients, we proposed a certain thing. They said, "Oh yeah, we like that." They give us the contract, and we start making it. Then we start developing a close relationship with them, and they go, "You know what? What we'd really like is if you could do this, you know, make it a little different." And so, here, should we tell them no? How do we work with them? She said, "Okay, I tell you what, let's work with you so that when we actually give you the first one, it's what you want, right?" I mean, so that slowed us down a bit. So we are going down a path. They come in, they say, "Can you do X, Y, and Z instead of this other stuff?" We look at it and say, "Yeah, we can do that." And if that's really what you want, okay, we'll modify and do things a little differently for you. And we've done that for several of our clients, and which pushed the delivery dates out. So that's part of that. But then the other part is we got all these orders in, and we had to staff up, and it took us quite a while to staff up. But the good thing is that the clients that we deal with are okay with that. We come in, they show them, and they see what we're doing, they like it, and they know they need it, so they're okay with it. The second part of your question had to do with rate, and that's really what we're trying to figure out. We said we can do a certain amount in-house, and we looked at it. We said, based on our current kind of capacity, we could do something like on the order of capacity and maybe $10 to $15 million with that capacity, and to go beyond that, we're going to need to expand. And so, I don't know if that sort of answers your question. Oh, so I'll ask it with a little more. What do you really want to know? Yes, exactly. Yes. Oh, yes.
Because clearly, if you're right, then the demand is going to be so large that you're going to be struggling to keep up with it. So I just wonder.
That is already happening.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
Yes. So, we're looking, for example, we talked a little bit about Fractech. Their first order, they're looking at on the order of 100 systems. So we're trying to show that we could do that and have that capability within the next 12 months. So, yeah, $500,000. So we're talking about like a $50 million kind of capability. Yes. Our planned gross margin for all the system is 50% or better. What we like is that when we got, we licensed interrogator technology. Interrogator technology is really the most costly part of the whole system. And we started looking at, okay, what will that cost? And we go through reviews and look at all the different options. And, of course, when we started, I had the team, I gave them a target. I said, the electronics has to cost X dollars per channel in order to meet our, profit. And the beauty of it is when they designed the system, and we had the review and they're going through all the cost roll-ups, I'm having a tough time, we're gonna have to really figure out a way to make it cost more because, we're way below that cost target. I go wow, that is fantastic. So this interrogator is so important to us, and it's gonna really help us make our margins. Yeah.